Hey, I'm Hal Gill, and this is Harrowings podcast. We've got Skip Healy back for the third time. We were
Hey,
just discussing how long this might go, and I think we have a hard stop at 6 p.m. Switzerland time, at least, right?
there you go.
Okay, that's great. So, Skip, catch me up. What's been happening? I hear that it may be Tasmania in your future.
Yeah, there's all kinds of, you know me, there's always something popping. Hell's a popping all the time around here, Hell.
All right.
First, it's great to see you. Thank you very much for having me back on your show, your podcast. It's always a lot of fun. We cover a lot of ground every time, so let's see where we end up this time.
You're here.
Well, as you know, and maybe some of your viewers will remember, or perhaps have seen, I started a podcast a few months ago, 6 months or so ago, called the Empty Pockets Podcast. I went for a long format style of podcast with interviews with various musicians, a lot of traditional musicians. I started off with a long interview with Ian Anderson from Jethro Tull. And it seems that people aren't so interested in long format. Like, people who are really into a subject are into long format. Everybody else has the attention span of a goldfish. So, so I thought, okay, maybe I have to get a new approach here. So I came up with the idea of having, instead of a podcast, a pubcast. So now I started Skip Healy's Pubcast, and the concept is people from around the world. I kind of made an open call on Facebook for people to send me videos of their local Irish music session, Scottish music session, their traditional dance, their house party, their concerts, whatever they got going on. And surprisingly, I got flooded with a bunch of videos from all over the place. So I'm like, oh shit, what am I going to do with this stuff now? So I went out and I bought an editing program called CapCut. And unfortunately, I don't know anything about editing. I've been around a lot of it, and there were no instructions with this. So me being me, I just kind of jumped in and started pushing buttons and trying to figure out how to maneuver things around. I put the first episode out about 2 or 3 weeks ago, which is available at the moment on my Facebook page, but I'm going to be looking to then cut it down into bites. It's about a 5-minute show as opposed to the 50-minute shows I used to do. Yeah, so much more user-friendly. I mean, when you're drinking your coffee in the morning or something like that, 5-6 minute show, or when you're on your commute, something like that. And then I'm going to be looking now to edit that into more Instagrammable bites to try to get, widen out the range of platforms that it's on. The first show was recorded by a great musician, great friend of mine, Nico Hubert, who's from France. And he does a lot of traveling for business. He actually works for the French Ministry of Defense, which is very frightening when you know Nico, to imagine he's in these NATO meetings and things like this. But so he goes to a city called Rennes in France, about 5 hours by train from Basel, Switzerland.
Right.
And he knows of this local session, which is actually a pretty high caliber session, mainly a lot of fiddle players, it seems, in the room. So he sent me some great video from this lovely pub, and I thought, oh, Jesus, this is exactly what I'm looking for. Uh-huh. And so I made my first efforts at editing that together. That's available. If people want to go to my Facebook page, they can see that. The first person that actually sent me video is a man from down in Tasmania, a fella called Josh Wood. Yeah, I was amazed. I put out the call on Facebook for some video, and within an hour, this guy sent me some video.
Oh, great! So he's in Tasmania. Is that the connection that brings you to the upcoming tour?
This is exactly correct. We started talking back and writing, corresponding back and forth. And I said, I've always is that it's very ironic. I was busking in New York City about 35 years ago in front of the Plaza Hotel, and this guy walks by. One of the hooks I used to use playing on the street was people usually have some kind of flag of where they're from on their backpack or their jacket or their something.
Yeah.
And so I started noticing the flags I saw the most frequently, and then I went and I learned their national anthems. So when I would see somebody going by with a German flag or a French flag or, Union Jack, or in this case, kangaroos or some kind of thing. So this one fellow went walking by and he had a big kangaroo patch. So I started playing Waltzing Matilda. And the guy stops and he turns around and he looks. He comes over, starts talking to me, gave me a few bucks. I said, "What are you doing in New York City, man?" And he said, "Oh, I'm on walkabout, mate." I said, "Walkabout? What the hell's walkabout?" He says, "Well, you get your ass out of your chair and you walk about and you end up someplace and then you walk about someplace else." So
yeah, it's a movie with that title. I don't know if you know it, but go ahead.
Yep. And so he said, "Do you know any other Aussie music?" And I played a couple tunes, Botany Bay and a couple of other things like that.
Uh-huh.
And he said, "Oh, that's great." He said, "But when I get back home, I'll send you a book of traditional Aussie folk songs." And I thought, "Yeah, okay, yeah, right, sure, yeah. And about 2 years later, in the mail, I got a book of Aussie folk music, and the guy who sent it to me, his last name was Wood, which is funny because the guy who sent me the first videos from Tasmania is Josh Wood. Right. So I thought, Jesus Christ, this would be amazing if these guys are somehow related, but apparently it's a relatively, not super common, but there are lots of Woods, families, Wood in throughout Australia and Tasmania. And so
there, I guess.
Yeah, so I told him that story, and I said, ever since then I've been wanting to go down your way, but I just, it's always something else, and I never quite had the money to get down there. And he said, "Oh man, all you have to do is get down here. There's lots of work. There's all kinds of, Irish music, folk music, English music, every place." And so I'm in talks with 3 folk festivals and a music school right now about going down there next January. So we're trying to work out some detail because, of course, the seasons are reversed. January is summer.
Wow.
For them. Yeah. So January through March is kind of their big folk festival and folk music scene, where it's hot but not brutal yet, as far as they're concerned. So see if we can put something together and get my old bones down to down under at last.
Well, speaking of old bones, it sounds like you're really working out a lot too lately and getting through some health issues. It sounds good. Playing is up to par.
Well, we're getting there. I really
I have to interject a little bit and explain this. Skip was called by Yankee Magazine years ago the world's greatest fifer, and he's a flautist as well. He's got a lot of musical chops. Flauntist. Yeah, you like to flaunt it. Yeah, I understand. Me too. That's why we're here. And being a fifer and being a flute maker, you can see the equipment in the background. He's really helped supply a lot of fife and drum corps with 10-hole as well as 6-hole fifes, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And the old guard uses his pipes. And
Presidential Honor Guard, the Honor Guard of the Queen of Denmark plays instruments. Right. German Honor Guard, French Honor Guard, all these. So I'm quite the military contractor at this point.
And he's been quite the musician. Now, you were busking at the Plaza, you were saying. Now, what year was that roughly? You don't have to be exact.
Late 70s, probably 78, 79.
78, 79. So you're a young man out there busking. Was that your main source of income during those days?
That was one of them. I was a taxi cab driver, and I worked as a fisherman. I grew up as in the fishing business, and worked as a commercial fisherman out on the Bering Sea for a little while. And that dangerous catch show that is so popular now. Yeah, I did that. Yeah, way back in the 70s when it was what was called the Derby days up there, when it was just catch as much as you want, run back in, go out, catch as much as you can. So that was Dutch Harbor, all that area up there that
You must have been having the sea shanties down then, right?
Oh yeah, I've always been into sea music, and one day I'm on the deck and I started singing this shanty. The deck boss looks at me and says, "Shut the F up! You're gonna scare the crabs." Yeah, but I remember the captain swore that he could smell crab farts.
I see.
Yeah, that's
interesting.
Yeah, well, and it it kind of makes sense in a way, because everything releases methane gas.
Yep.
Goes up to the surface. There's millions of crabs, and they move in what's called a biomass. Kind of a long line of crabs, all kind of falling all over each other. So there's a enormous volume of methane down there. So who knows? Who's to say he didn't? We sure made money. That's all I know.
And you probably could tell they were crabs because of the things that crabs eat.
Yeah, which
gives you a little different flavors. The methane. When you said that we didn't know where we would be going, I never expected to be here now.
Hey, buddy, you know me. I mean, I've been there, done that, and got the T-shirt.
So, getting back to Tasmania and Australia, you never toured there before?
No, I've never been down there. Every time I was about to go down there, something else would pop up. And I thought, as a younger man, if I go down there, there's so much, I'm a bit of an adventurer, at least I was when I was younger. A lot of prospecting down there, lot of gold hunting, gem hunting, all of that kind of stuff. So I figured if I go down there, I might stay down there, or at least die down there, out in the middle of nothing. But
you're a little more anchored to Switzerland now, though.
Yeah, now I'm very sure I'll come back. For sure.
I'm not sure my wife would let me out to do things like that. I'd love to be your vet man. That'd be fun.
Well, my brother was just here visiting us, I should say, over Christmas with his girlfriend, and he's a bigger adventurer than I am, and he's retired. He had a very special job for 30 years. And he became a thru hiker when he retired.
Okay.
These are people who go on walkabout, basically.
Right. Exactly.
My brother Tom Healy is his name. It's this whole amazing subculture that I never knew existed. People don't use their real name when they're out on the trail. Everybody comes up with a trail name. His is Toasted Toad. And he has hiked the 3 longest trails in North America. The Appalachian Trail, which is a couple of thousand miles. Okay. And then he did the Pacific Coast something, it's called, which is about 3,000 miles. And this third one, I forget what it's called, that's about 3,500 miles. And when he finished that, he became, I think he said, the 522nd person to become what's called a Triple Crown hiker, someone who has legitimately done all 3 trails. So when I told him I might be going down to Tasmania, he's like, you need a security guard? Maybe, come along with you.
Yeah, well, that sounds exciting. And we'll have to catch up after the show as well when you go down there. But you've got other things afoot before then. That's next January, right?
Yeah, so this Tasmania stuff would be next January because, they're the opposite seasons of us in this hemisphere. So starting in January is the beginning of their summer season, which is when they have most of their festivals and teaching clinics and things like that. So Josh was telling me basically every weekend throughout the summer there's a festival someplace.
Have you got your itinerary pretty well mapped out yet, or is that still going?
I have a rough outline of what I would be doing. There's apparently the largest festival is called Signet. I'm not sure of some of these pronunciations. That would be somewhere in about the second week of January. And then there's one, the Tamar Valley Festival. Then after that, there's a music school, the DeLorean Music School. So that's one weekend after the other. And then I'd look to do a couple of house concerts and things.
Yeah.
In between, something always pops up. So that'd be a month or so down there if it works out. Again, it's still in discussions at the moment. It's 23-hour flight to get there, and I'm not so young and flexible. So I'd be looking to go in business class, and that's not the cheapest way to go about it. So we're trying to break up the financing through a few festivals to get me down there.
Oh, that sounds really exciting. I'm glad to hear about it. Hopefully there'll be plenty of YouTubes of those to stream and, amplify through the system. That's what we're really about here on Harrowings, is to churn up the surface and amplify what turns up.
And you do a hell of a job, man. There is always something different with you. I mean,
they're a little different guests, that's for sure. And you're one of
the wide spectrum choices. It's awesome.
I shouldn't mind the fife and drum community more than I do, because it's huge, right? Over in Switzerland, it's good.
Yeah, it's a worldwide thing. I mean, I always say, if you go far enough back in any culture, you find, three things as far as music goes. You find people who use their voice for music. You would find people who blew on something, because for real, I mean, there weren't violin makers thousands of years. You need skills and tools and this and that, but you pick up a stick and
some holes,
poke some holes, and you're going to make some noise. Yeah, and then you have people who hit something. So there's some version of flute and drum in almost every culture that you get into. I mean, shepherds were a lot of the first people to start using calling instruments.
In fact, Neanderthals had flutes of some form or another in bone. I think the earliest instruments are flutes, so they're not that we can point to as instruments.
Here, you're very good at leading me into stories. I don't know if we talked about this one or not.
Let's go there.
A long time ago, right when the internet was when Al Gore invented the internet,
yes.
Shortly after that, yeah, exactly. I put a website up. I think very early on flute makers with websites. And I was contacted, and I still have the emails laying around here someplace. I was contacted by a paleontologist in Great Britain. And he said, Mr. Healy, let me ask you. He said, I have what I think may be the oldest musical instrument ever made, one of the first instruments. And it's only a guess. I mean, I don't know, but it's a piece of bone with some holes that have been poked in it. And I said, well, send me some dimensions. I'll see if I can, mock something up and see if it makes any noise. And so he sent me these dimensions, and I copied the thing and I blew into it, and it really, to me, was very similar to Native American eagle bone whistles. Okay. Which, is kind of like a tabor pipe. A tabor pipe is something you blow into, and it has two holes at the bottom. There's an old tradition of pipe and tabor where someone would blow on this flute, and they have a drum and kind of early one-man band. But I built this thing, and I sent back to the guy. I said, I wouldn't call it a musical instrument, but it is something that creates different tones. So if you want to call that a musical instrument, then this is an old musical instrument. And then this gentleman published this huge research paper with his exhaustive research and this and that. And I'm not seeing Skip Healy in this thing anywhere.
All your work not adulated enough.
Yeah,
Right?
so
Where's the celebrity here?
where's the celebrity? I'm with you, Hal. What more celebrity do I need?
Well, I think this is a start in the right direction. And I know that Yankee Magazine also has picked up on your vibe. So, hey, it's all going well. I mean, sorry that guy didn't credit you. What did you do about it? Did you do anything about it?
Oh, nothing. I just said, well, there you go.
There you go. Another one of those guys.
Another one of those things, man, And I'm serious. I have a great big folder up against the wall over here, and I'm sure those emails are in there for our next.
Oh, that's great.
Our next chat, I'll try to find those emails. So, I tell a lot of stories. I say a lot of things, but people who know me know it's all true.
Yeah, it ain't bragging if it's true. That's
yeah. Like Walter Brennan said in the old show, ain't no brag, just fact.
Well, you've definitely been on the fife and drum front lines for a long time. So you started that in the Kinnish Guards, as I recall, correct?
Exactly. Back in 1968, I started playing with the Kentish Guards. Yeah, I wanted to be a drummer. Yeah,
and I would come in at 11 into the Colonial Williamsburg fife and drums. So I was there in 74. You were there in 68. Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And once it gets into your blood, it's very hard to get out.
That's really true. I mean, when you get the drum corps bug, and it's funny, it's the same thing like here in Switzerland. Throughout Europe, we're just now getting into the Fastnacht season, the festival night season.
Let's talk that.
Yeah, and they're basically just all these old pagan festivals. It's at the end of winter, and it's just about wearing, as they would say in Ireland, fancy dress, some kind of costumes, and making a whole bunch of noise to chase evil winter away and welcome the springtime. Yeah. And so all throughout Switzerland, throughout Germany, throughout France, they have various, versions of a Fastnacht festival. And the one in Basel, Switzerland, is very, very cool because it's a fife and drum festival. Piccolo, they play six-hole, six-key piccolos, and a very complex style Swiss drumming invented by, or not invented by, but he was kind of the Earl Sturz, this guy, Dr. Berger, codified the rudiments of traditional Swiss drumming. Okay. And so it starts at 3 o'clock in the morning, I think the Monday before Ash Wednesday, and or the week before Ash Wednesday, and starts at 3 o'clock in the morning with something called the Morgenstreich, the morning hitting the morning. All these thousands and thousands of musicians in costume are on the streets all through Basel. Yeah. The clock strikes 4 o'clock, and they turn off all the lights in downtown Basel. I mean, coordinated. They flip the switch.
Right.
Total darkness. It's huge green from the groups, and they all light there. They have these huge lanterns that they carry with them. The musicians, only for the Morgenstreich, on their basque, they have these different kinds of lanterns on the top, just small lanterns. And so the whole festival in the beginning is just lit by the natural lighting from the groups. It's one of the most remarkable things you'd ever see in your life. And so there's probably 8,000, 10,000 piccolo players, 15, 18,000 drummers.
Yeah, always more drummers. Right? Always more drummers, right?
There's always more drummers. There's always more drummers. What can you do? And it all starts, they all play the same tune at vaguely the same time. And it's a tune called the Morgenstreich.
Of course.
And so it's the most remarkable start to any festival I've ever seen anywhere in the world. It just gives you chills.
Yeah, and that's sort of the point of fife and drumming in Switzerland, is to give one chills, right?
Yeah.
Turned me on to that. I didn't know that before, but basically it was like a warning that the Swiss military was coming to get you.
Yeah, and they get their chill on. Well, I mean, the oldest recorded use of fifes and drums on the battlefields is in 1410 by the Swiss.
Yep. And that was because of getting gunpowder around, right? And they couldn't see the flags.
Yeah, exactly. That's why they started going to the tonal signals instead of flags, because once black powder came onto the battlefield with the opening volley, you couldn't see anything because the powder was so bad. So then they started using drums and fifes and bugles and bagpipes, things like that, instead of they used to use battle standards and flags, different flags for different maneuvers.
Yep. Yeah, it's very interesting history. And between the military use and between the cultural folk use of music, you have this kind of blend in Switzerland. But getting back to Fastnacht, what does it actually translate as? Do you have a good translation into English of Fastnacht?
Festival night.
Festival night. Okay.
Yeah.
And the organizations in Germany, I remember, of music too, is very similar to the Swiss. You were mentioning that Fastnacht is celebrated all into Germany, up to northern Germany, or no?
All around Europe. Almost every country has some kind of tradition like this. End of winter, make a bunch of noise, dress up funny, get loaded.
And it's corresponding though with Easter, right? It goes up to Ash Wednesday, or does it go after Ash Wednesday?
Yeah, it's different things in different countries. Sometimes it happens during Lent. In some countries, it happens before Lent. Like Mardi Gras in America, Mardi Gras means Fat Tuesday.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So which is also, right at the Lenten. I almost said lentil.
The Lenten season, yeah, when we're supposed to get
the lentil season, yeah.
I wish I could get over there for that, because I've heard a lot about it. We do a little minor version of it over in Fairfax, Virginia. Actually, there's a little Swiss cafe where
nice.
A bunch of the old guard folks and other people who are interested in pipe and drum were there. I haven't been over there for years, but I went over there one year, and it was a lot of fun. Just a blast to be around other people who were celebrating something particularly Swiss.
And and being a Swiss festival, and again, speaking in Basel, this Fastnacht happens all through Switzerland, but it's done differently in different cities. But in Basel, being Swiss, it's also enormously complex, because there are the clique, as they call the piccolo and drum groups.
Right.
The clique has a Vortrab, it has a color guard like we would have, but it's very different. They hand out these every year. Each group has its own sujet or subject. It's very funny. You've probably seen this. There's a video that I've seen online where all of these people, the caption of this video is always, "The Swiss hate Trump so much, there's a special parade where they make fun of Trump." That's from Fastnacht. And what they do is they always take the piss out of political leaders, religious leaders, local politicians, world leaders. Yeah. So every group has their individual theme, and their costumes reflect that theme. And then they write a long, like a limerick, describing what their theme is. So there's people, handing these things out as they're going along. There are these people with lanterns of various sizes. Then there's a different kind of music called Gucke music, Gucke Musik. And the Gucke bands intentionally sound like really bad high school bands in America. The music is very open. It's very swingy. You hear the what was it? Hawaii 5-0. Da, 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 da. Like every band plays some kind of version of that. It's all of this really, it's brass instruments, maybe a drum or two. So this festival goes for 3 days. It starts at 4 o'clock in the morning on Monday, pretty much nonstop until Thursday. It starts with a couple of these organized parades through the town. And when that organized parade is done, the groups just go wherever they want to go. They're told to stay away from nursing homes, and they have to stay away from hospitals. Because, just, courteous, typical Swiss. But these groups are going, it's chaos in the street. So that's all day Monday. Then on Tuesday is Guka Day. That's when these Guka bands kind of take over. And also it's like if you're in one clica and I'm in a different clica, but we're buddies, we get together on Tuesday and we form our own little groups.
Yeah.
They call it Schießtrachtzugli is what these groups are called. The walking bunch of crap, loosely translated.
Well, that's kind of like our F troops, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so there's the Guka music going on, and then there's these smaller groups going all over. Then in Marktplatz, kind of the central square in Basel, is the big Guka concert every year, like Tuesday night, starting at about 9 o'clock or so, and then it's like a muster. Yeah. Then all of these Guka bands take 5 or 10 minutes on stage, doing their deal, and then Wednesday it goes back to the traditional piccolo clica playing again. And through all of this stuff, there are these guys called Vakis. And the Vakis was kind of a Basel semi-derogatory slang word for the French farmers, because Basel is right on the border of Germany and France. Sure. And French farmers on Sunday used to come in with their wagons and sell produce. And they all had these long tunics that they wore and a certain style of pants and big clogs. So there are these Vakis clica. They have big wagons that they're in. There'd be 5, 10, 15 of these guys. There's one particular costume that they wear. It's great big head with a big nose, crazy hair, blue tunics, white pants, big clogs. And they are kind of the pranksters, jokesters, loose Burbe. They would call them loose wild guys.
Wild guys, yeah.
Yeah, and in Fastnacht, you like our muster buttons. They sell metal plaquette. They call them metal pins, and they're of 3 classes. There's a bronze one, which is the cheapest. There's a silver-ish one that's middle expensive, and then there's a one with a gold frame around the pin. And if you're wearing one of those, the Vakis will lure you towards their wagon, as they're going down this parade route, and bombard you with confetti and then give you whatever that particular wagon gives away. Blood oranges are a big thing. Different kind of vegetables they'll throw at you. Little kinds of souvenirs, kids' toys, stuffed animals are very big. They'll give those to little kids. So it's a big hit with the kids, the Vakis family.
Wow. Yeah, that sounds so interesting because it sounds sort of chaotic and also could potentially dangerous if they're throwing objects at you.
Yeah, you have to keep your eyes open. I mean, you will get bonked in the head by an orange traveling at a high rate of speed if you're not careful. And then one other cool thing that's happening in the restaurants, not all restaurants, but a small series of them. They have these guys that are called Schnitzelbank. Okay. And the Schnitzelbank there can be one of them, or there can be three, a solo, a duet, a trio, a quartet. I've seen up to quintets. And they're musicians, Each one has one character that they get known by, and they usually have one melody that they play. But they write a series of very short satirical songs to this one melody. And so there'll be Schnitzelbank concerts, which you have to reserve your place like a year beforehand to get into the restaurant. And it's a formal meal. You're served at dinner. It's like a cabaret.
Right.
Everybody's sitting around, having their cocktails, and listening to these Schnitzelbank performances. And the thing about the Schnitzelbank is it's a secret society. You don't know who they are.
I see.
Yeah, and they're very, very serious about not letting people know who the actual person is that is the bunk, as they call themselves.
Hmm. So that sounds very mysterious and sounds like a cultural experience not to be missed. I hope some of our guests are really, dusting off their passports, getting ready to go to Switzerland if they're not there already. Because the time is coming. Get out of this freeze that we're in right now. I don't know. How's the weather in Switzerland these days?
We are.
Whoa, you froze.
On and off. Today, this winter, we're having more snow than we typically do. We had a month ago, we got about 10 inches of snow, which for here where I am is a lot of snow.
Yeah, I've got a little bit out there, 5 inches or so, but it's been there since Sunday. We have temperatures well below freezing. It's been the longest freeze we've had, I think, on record.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just not melting off over there for you guys. I still have a lot of friends.
I've been in since last Saturday easily without going out because it was darn cold on Saturday too, for that matter. And but I had nice fires, and I love fires. And I think that's the great thing about Switzerland too, is I'm sure you have at Fastnacht, lots of good sized fires, right, out in the streets.
Oh yeah,
people warm.
In fact. There's a town next to Basel that's called Liestal.
Okay.
And they have a fire parade that happens during Fastnacht. And it's the same kind of thing. There's little musical groups going through, and there are people, go through with these huge baskets, burning baskets.
Cressets, we call those in Williamsburg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's on the parade route, there's this one little arch, very low arch that they have to go through. And some of them are coming through with wagons that are burning.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And so the exciting thing is always when these groups go through the arch, because they have to run through the arch or they will die. So it literally turns into a little fire tunnel when some of these larger groups go through. But that's always pretty cool to go see.
They just don't let us do things like that in America anymore. Not to get too political about it, but we kind of protect ourselves too much, I think, from a lot of those things. When I was living in Denmark, I was really impressed by going to Tivoli and seeing all these funhouse kind of things they had there, in which you could seriously injure yourself.
Oh, yeah.
They weren't smart, right? They sort of assumed that people weren't idiots.
Yep. The Swiss are very, very conservative, and they're very conservative with their fun until it's Fastnacht season. They save it up all year for this, few days, and then they go nuts.
Well, and that's so important for a society to have the release, right? Because we are serious about trying to be very effective and efficient in all our things. I think Switzerland has the mindset for the Americans when we think of Switzerland is they developed the cuckoo clock, and that's about it in the last however long that they've had peace, right?
The three things: cuckoo clocks, Velcro, and LSD.
Right, Hoffman.
Yep.
Wait, do we want to go there now?
Roche.
Yeah, they've got a great pharmaceutical company. What was it called again? Roche.
Roche.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's where Hoffman worked in the
Yeah,
1930s.
Sando is a big one. Roche is a big. Hoffman Roche. It used to be Hoffman Roche. I think it's just Roche
And that's
now.
when Bicycle Day happened, when Hoffman decided to dose himself to see what would happen. And how much did he give himself? I think it was a huge amount.
Yeah, it was like way too much.
And then he rode his bicycle home. So they call
Yep.
that, people who are into this kind of thing celebrate Bicycle Day.
Mhm.
You had that great Jerry Garcia story, and I guess you heard about the passing of Bob Weir now.
Yes, I did. Yep. Yep.
Did you see any of that celebration out in San Francisco?
I saw some videos of some of it. It looked thematically appropriate. we'll say.
Yeah, I mean, it's a long life, and I love what Bob said.
Yep.
He thought that death was the last and greatest reward for a life well lived.
Yep.
Though I think he was cut off a little before his time at 78.
Mm-hmm.
I would have liked to have seen him have some more years. But
Yeah.
these lung damage from the treatment for cancer apparently is one thing that got him. And my father went the same way. He lasted longer than Bob did from the treatment to the death. I don't know what kind of cancer Bob had, but definitely underlying lung issues as a result of the treatment.
Mm-hmm.
Seems to have done it. And we're all going there. So while we got breath in our bodies, we might as well fife, right?
Yeah, nobody gets out alive, man.
So when you were in San Francisco in the 80s, you had that great story. I'd like to recount that one again about banjo.
Yeah, sure. So I used to do a lot of playing in San Francisco. It's one of my favorite cities in America, just because every portion of it is different. You know,
and what kind of playing were you doing there, by the way?
I'm playing traditional Irish music. There's a long tradition of traditional Irish music in San Francisco. You know, I always say there were 5 main ports of entry for Irish in America, and those each one of those cities has a really large traditional Irish music culture, and they being Boston, New York, Philadelphia, Chicago, and San Francisco. Right. So those are always big, gig towns, big session towns for trad music. So I was out in San Francisco at the late 70s, early 80, more late 70s, I think, probably 79, 80, somewhere around there.
And keeps shifting, by the way, every time we talk about it. Go ahead.
Well, my brain is whatever it was.
No judgment.
Yeah. So I was down by Pier 39, and I had a joint. I was sitting on a bench there, and I was minding my own business. And you usually have always been left alone in Frisco, whatever you were up to. If you weren't hurting anybody else, they never saw any reason to bother you. So I'm sitting there quietly smoking my joint, and this voice comes up behind me and says, "Hey, it smells good, man." He said, "Yeah, it is pretty good." And I turned around, and it was Jerry Garcia standing there. And so I just had no reaction to it. I said, "Yeah, bro, come on, have a seat. I got some more." So I sat down next to me. I got out another joint, handed him one. So he's smoking his, I'm smoking mine. What are you doing? What are you doing here? I said, "Well, I'm here doing some gigs." So, "Yeah, what do you play, man?" I said, "I play Irish. I'm a flute player, and I play traditional Irish music." "Oh, Irish, folk music. I love folk music, man. You use tenor banjos in Irish music, man. I love the plectrum style." And all of a sudden, this guy launches into this dissertation about 4-string banjo, 5-string banjo, clawhammer banjo, bluegrass banjo, and I knew the whole time it's Jerry Garcia. I mean, it's kind of obvious when you see his hand. That was
exactly.
that was kind of one giveaway.
I got one here, actually, Jerry.
There he is. That's the man. That's about what he looked like when I met him too.
Yeah, that's about the right period. He's playing Tiger there.
Yeah,
the hand. On the strings.
Yep.
Steady.
Relatively thin, close cropped, everything. Yeah, that's about what he looked like.
Yep.
And
79.
And so we were just talking, and I was just, and he knew like all the players. I mean, Grandpa Jones, man, that guy, he's actually a serious banjo player. That guy is a serious bluegrass player. String beat.
Yes, I was going to say.
He's a clawhammer band. It was so cool that they had a picker and they had a clawhammer player, on that show, and going on, and eventually, I don't remember exactly how we broke up because we were both pretty blasted at that time. And he's like, "Yeah, man, I got to roll, man. I got to go do something." And I just said, "Well, Jerry, it was really nice to talk with you." And he looks at me.
He started.
Yeah, he just jumped there. You know who I am? I said, "Yeah, I knew who you are from the first second I saw you." He said, "Oh, man, thanks for being cool, man. It was really, really nice to talk with you." And,
Gotta be because the celebrity thing killed him.
Yeah. That's one thing I've met a lot of, well-known people. And the thing I learned really fast is don't acknowledge the celebrity, because that puts things in a whole other perspective at that time, a whole other deal. It just closes. It changes things. So just make believe you don't know them.
Yeah, which has been pretty nice.
Get offended. I've met some very well-known people who get offended when you don't, genuflect to their greatness, and screw them. There won't be any fun to hang out with anyway.
Yeah, that's got to be weird. I mean, I don't get it. I think a lot of those guys really didn't think that way, and I'm glad they didn't.
Yeah.
I think the thing is that a lot of people just glom onto a celebrity and can't let go of the kind of cachet, that culture. I think the way we're programmed by the media to think of these people as somehow apart from being human.
Yes.
It's very dangerous, psychologically speaking, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Where do I want to go with that? But there was something else I wanted to go into, and now I've sort of lost that thread.
We'll do it again. Don't worry.
I had another friend who I don't know even how I became friends with Dava, but she's out in California somewhere, and I haven't talked to her in a while, but we started somehow or another on Facebook striking up a conversation and getting to know each other. And she ended up calling me on the phone. We talked on the phone a few times, and her story included when she was younger, she had a legitimate not recognizing Jerry story.
Oh, wow.
Which I thought was really cute. And there's a good picture somewhere around here of her dancing on stage with the Grateful Dead after she became aware. She didn't like the Grateful Dead much, and she knew a lot of Deadheads out there and stuff, but she used to play pool with this guy who'd come into this club or whatever. And she was shooting pool with him all the time. And she knew he was a musician, but she didn't know anything about him other than that. It was Jerry.
Oh, cool.
So she had this backstory. And it was really kind of nice. And I think that's so excellent, right?
Mm-hmm.
When people can just drop the celebrity facade and be real with somebody else. It must feel good.
Yeah.
You gave them that experience, even though you did recognize them from the first second, but you didn't like.
And it was very, a very sincere reaction,
Sure. Right.
Yeah.
I think the thing that he says at the end, I'm not sure we touched on that, was that he didn't think he'd ever told anyone all that about banjo playing before.
Yeah.
So you're the carrier of this.
Yeah. He said, "No, man, I never talked." He said, "Yeah, it's false. You're a flute player, man, and you know more about banjos than I never talked with anybody about banjos this much."
Which I hope you write up sometime if you can reconstruct that memory and put there's so many people who pay good money for that story, I think.
Yeah. I've had so many people I know out in Hollywood say, "Man, you got to write all of this stuff down, man. There's like 3 movies going on here." So
yeah, I mean, the fife and drum thing. I don't think outside of a certain bubble we're really known to each other much.
Yeah. Well, a really famous fifer, a lot of people don't know he grew up in fife and drum, is Steve Carell. Very famous actor, comedian. He grew up playing in, Massachusetts militia.
I have no idea.
Groups. Yeah. He's an old fife player. He, a lot of times, on late night shows, they'll come out with this, a little, plastic fife or something and ask him to play a tune. Yeah, I should send him a fife, man. I've been thinking of sending him a fife for a long time.
Ready, just about all.
Yeah,
this is the 50th anniversary fife. The Colonial Williamsburg fife and drum got made by Cooperman.
Nice.
I really love it. It's blackwood, with a pewter ferrule, which has some sheen etching on it, which is hard to see now because it's so tarnished. I haven't really picked it up.
It's pretty funny.
I like the wear and tear on it,
Yeah. It looks mysteriously like one that I made for Colonial Williamsburg a long time ago.
Oh, did you make that?
Yeah.
Very cool. And Colonial Williamsburg, huh? Used your pipes?
Yeah, it was Moon, I think, that contacted me and said, "Hey, we're looking for something that's a little more like an instrument than a toy, and it seems like everybody is playing your stuff. Do you think you could make something for us?" Great. So normally, for those of you who don't know, I make a two-piece fife. The head joint where you blow is called the head joint, and then the body is where the fingers go. And it's not true, but people don't find that to be very colonial. So what I did is I took my two-piece design and glued the two pieces together. So it looks like a one piece, but it's actually my parabolic head joint, cylindrical body.
Oh, interesting. That's pretty high quality stuff there.
Yeah, and I
more.
Yeah, well, I built two of them, and I sent one down to them, and he could not get it past the historical commission or the
products division. Yeah, products division.
Yeah, they said, no, yeah, it looks right on the outside, but there's all this modern stuff on the inside. He said, yeah, well, the modern stuff is what makes it sound good. that's what makes it loud and people will actually hear us.
I wonder what year that was. My father used to be on the HASP committee, Historic Area Standards and Products or something.
Mm-hmm. I can look through my record book. I probably have when the date was. It was certainly...
It was during Moon's tenure, and I think he retired in '92, if I'm not mistaken. He had a 20-year tenure.
I was about to say it was probably somewhere in the late '80s.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah,
I left in '81. I got gone back to Williamsburg in different roles, but drum in '81. Came back and worked in the magazine for '83 up till '83, summers, holidays, but. Yeah, I got out of the piping and drumming side of it and didn't go back to that until we did a Christmas parade, I think in 2003. I can't fill in with that. We did a community Christmas parade. We lead that in our Santa hats. What do you got there?
Again, I tell no lies. There's Williamsburg.
Yeah.
Right there. Fifes number 89 and 90, one piece, 6-hole, .452 scale, Granadillo, prototype.
Beautiful.
Yep. I tell no lies. I don't have to.
Did you see the year it was?
I remember all the weird shit that has actually happened.
89 and 90, was it? Those are
those were the numbers of the fifes. Fife number 89 and fife number 90. Let me see if there's a year associated with that.
That's great that you have the records there.
Oh, right, yeah, there.
Organized.
So, yeah, that was looks like about 1988.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I kept one for myself. I sent one down to them, and he kept 85.
85. Okay.
Yeah. I got the date at the end here.
That's very cool.
Yeah, at a .452 scale instead of 440. So they're high pitch, more B than B flat. And he specifically wanted them at 452.
The old pitch. Yeah, we have Cooperman making the old pitch for us too. And therefore we do clash a little with our fellow vipers at Deep River when we go out there. Just a little. I don't even hear it.
Still works.
Yeah.
Built to last.
What I like about that design, by the way, on the exterior is that it looks more Revolutionary War than a lot of the ones we play, which are more Civil War-ish.
Yeah, that's what he couldn't understand. He said, there can't be any complaints about how this thing looks, and what they came down on is the internals of the instrument. That and it's true.
Most of the time, right now, for instance, the kind of schlocky stuff they're selling, is all those standards went away, and oh well, I think somebody added in for him, because who would care about internals unless somebody just wanted to stop something that, and price margin might have been a little different too. I expect your stuff is not cheap.
Yeah, it's not. I got the price right here that I sold them. I sold them.
Well, while you're looking it up, I will say that a lot of what we were selling,
$175 was
what we were selling in the stores back then for tin whistles were these little bead whistles that were all tin, wood block, but they were awful quality. They were just practically, they wouldn't last. They were toys, basically. Right?
No, souvenirs.
But anyway, it was good memory though, because John Moon was unique in the history of military music generally. Do you ever see that picture of him leading the Scots Guards through a gate? Apparently, there's a little film clip out of "It's a Mad, 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 Mad World" or something.
Oh yeah.
I think that was what it was. There was a little clip of the Scots Guards coming through a gate when he was still the drum major for them.
Nice.
It was nice to meet a lot of the people from that the Guards regiments at
that might have been
SARD thing. SIL.
That might have been in the Magic Mile in Edinburgh. Coming out of Edinburgh Castle, there's a gate you go through, and you go down the long. It's called the Magic Mile, that street. And that's always where the parade goes through, goes down from the Edinburgh Tattoo.
It probably was. He led the Edinburgh Tattoo as the overall music director a few times, I think, before coming to us and leading this ragtag bunch of boys into manhood. Basically what he was having charged with. And when he got there, he was told by the president of the foundation that they give him 1 year, without any interference. He would ask for 1 year without any interference. That was right. And the president of the foundation said, "I'll give you 2."
Oh, nice.
And the second year, the end of the second year there was when I joined. And by that time, he had us pretty well organized. It was, like I said, a unique institution because we were paid. We weren't just doing this for the love of fifing and drumming. We were doing it instead of a paper route or whatever.
Yeah, I think George Carroll was down there at the very beginnings too. He was one of the original organizers. He ran organizing things. I mean, he was at the start of the Old Guard. He was in on that. At the start of Williamsburg, on that. Down at Disney World with the Fife and Drum Corps, he had a hand in that. So
we had some really great leaders over the years. George was prior to John Moon, and John Moon was the next guy to succeed him. And before that, they were basically self-governed. George came on in like 61, I think, which was before I was born. And when George left, of course, the young men who had been sort of soldiering on without him, when John Moon came in, they put John through the ringer. They were not happy, to have their father figure replaced with somebody else. Oddly enough, that schism continued into the 2000s.
Oh yeah,
still a thing. Until George passed, and then John passed shortly thereafter. We stand on the shoulders of giants, as I say, in that organization, and it forged into something very different. than any other fife and drum I think that ever came around. The old guard also has its own thing, and Billy White did such a good job of explaining that at one of our anniversaries of these two corps were different than the New England corps, and that we weren't community focused.
Yep.
We weren't like coming right up out of the community. We were there to set a certain mindset in the person who was exposed to us. Us into that mindset, whether it was a foreign dignitary coming to the White House where the old guard would be performing, or Colonial Williamsburg, where the Colonial Williamsburg fife and drum was trying to put you into an 18th century mindset. Yeah. And music has that way of, programming our brains. Maybe
absolutely.
And healing. Your name is Skip Healy, so you might as well talk about your healing, right? Because when we first started talking, you started this pubcast. Initially the podcast, now the pubcast.
Yep.
For a reason. Maybe I could just leave you with that hook.
Okay. The whole podcast and everything started for me over here with the original COVID shutdown. And so it was funny. I had a gig here with a couple of friends of mine from Scotland here in Volin, really famous guys play with a group called the Battlefield Band. Right. And they were worried about if they were going to be able to get out of Switzerland, because all of a sudden there were these pronouncements coming from the government that this is going to be banned and this is going to be shut down and all these things are going to stop. But they were able to, they literally one of the last planes to get out before all of the COVID regulations hit over here. But then all of my work got canceled. There were no sessions, there were no concerts, there was just nothing going on. And so I wanted to have something to do. So I started doing these Facebook videos, something I called Tunes from the Shop. Okay. And that was quite a few years ago, several hundred videos. At this point now, I started doing one video every week. So at first it was Tuesday, it was Tuesday from the Shop. Yep. And that eventually got switched to Thursday. And that's when I started to develop a bit of a online following, if you want to call it that. And I just enjoyed doing it. And eventually I wanted to do something a little more because I know all of these people and these people have their own great stories and situations. So that's when I started doing the podcast from there. Just a relaxed chat with a lot of very, very high level musicians, good friends of mine. And then that led from there into now the aforementioned pubcast. And again, what's so amazing, and you know this very well, is the reach that you're able to have now. I mean, when I started doing gigs in the 70s, you had to travel. Yeah. City to city, or you had to get your stuff on the radio somehow. You had to break through a playlist. You had to pay somebody because, it was the record companies, as always, controlling often what was on radio shows. And so you either had to know somebody, you had to have a friend, or you had to sign a deal with a record company that you may not want to sign, which was the case with me. I didn't really, want to do any kind of long-term deals because you just go in debt to the record company and you never get out from under that.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's why I kind of just stayed, independent. Somebody called me one time the unicorn of Irish music. Everybody's heard of me, but nobody's met me.
I haven't met you face to face yet, so
no,
that's true.
No, this is the kind of thing, that happens now with the internet. I've ended up getting a lot of work, a lot of orders, meeting a lot of really cool people. Like I say, this Josh guy down in Tasmania. We'll see where that leads. Meeting you through this.
And the pubcast has actually gotten how many videos have been sent to you for possible inclusion? They got flooded, right?
I have videos now. I can't tell you the number offhand, but I've had videos sent from a couple of different sessions here in Switzerland, from France, from Germany, from Ireland, from Scotland, from England, Tasmania, now mainland Australia. Some stuff is coming in, so it's incredible, the reach. I thought maybe somebody will send me some of my friends would send me something from France. And like I say, the first videos were sent by this guy in Tasmania. Wow. I was like, holy crap, that's ridiculous. It's insane. When we were growing up, this was science fiction, all of this. My wife called me a little earlier today. She had to go to the store with her phone. She had a problem with her phone, and the guy said, "Oh, you have this model phone, and actually, if you want to resell that, you can get a decent price, and then we'll make a deal for some new phones." And so then my daughter Abigail and I, went to the shop. And this guy's transferring all this stuff back and forth from different phones, pushing a couple of buttons. And, I'm just looking at this wizardry, thinking of, watching the 20th century with Walter Cronkite when I was growing up. That was predicting all of these, miracles and marvels that were going to happen in the future. And, I'm watching this, 19-year-old kid, shuffle piles of information back and forth between, a couple of telephones. It's insane. I watched a movie not too long ago. What was it called? History of Inventions or something like that. And it was about the influence that the series Star Trek had on modern technology. And all of these people, like the guy who invented cell phones. Oh, I got that idea from Star Trek. That's the original flip phone. Was as they called them, communicators. Right. The tricorder. The guy who invented CAT scans. Yeah, I wanted. I was trying to do that. And the guy that's invented this, impulse engine. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out warp drive. And all of this stuff came from this one series.
It's like Galaxy Quest, right? The aliens pick up our signals and then build the technology.
Yeah, exactly.
Work.
Yeah.
In detail like that. You remember Galaxy Quest and the terrible place they have to go to try to get through the choppers?
Yeah, exactly.
This episode.
Yeah. But it's insane. We're living in an insane world for many reasons.
Let's go in there. Yeah, let's go into the insanity of the world, because right now we're having some sort of walkout day over here.
Oh yeah.
Did you know that?
No, I hadn't heard that one yet.
Well, barely. Probably a lot of people haven't heard it because
everybody's walking out.
We're all in our bubbles. We're in our fife and drum bubble right now, for instance. Mm-hmm. Everybody outside of the fife and drum world basically is like, what? But if you're in it, oh my God, it's in the blood, right? That's one. Let me just link it back to Bob Weir again. He said something that I thought was so prescient in his movie, The Other One. I don't know if you've seen it. It's out on Netflix. No. A biopic about Bob done in 2015. And it's really nice. So at one point he says, they say blood is thicker than water, but what we had was something thicker than blood.
Oh, wow. I like that.
Musicians.
I like that.
And
yeah. Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
Well, here's one way the modern world is impacting my little fife making business here.
Please.
Because of Swiss Post stopped sending commercial parcels to the United States about 3.5 months ago.
No.
Yeah. Because Trump put these tariffs on everything.
I was thinking. The price of Mozart Kugel had gone through the roof.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
But he put a 39% tariff. Uh-huh. Now, a large part of the country over there, including some people who ordered things from me, thought I have to pay that tariff.
That you have to pay it.
I have to pay it. And I had to explain to them, no, that's an import tax. I don't pay that tariff. You're going to pay that when your fife comes. That's not something I pay. That's something you pay. It's an import tax on you. It's not an export tax on me. A lot of commercial companies, to expedite shipping, will pay that tariff, but then they're going to add that to the price of whatever widget you buy. And so Swiss, then there was the government shut, and then he got rid of what's called the de minimis exception. It used to be any commercial package sent into the United States with a value of $800 or less passed through customs. They would open up, packages here and there, but but every package was not inspected. Then he got rid of the de minimis exception, which meant literally every commercial package coming into the United States has to be opened and inspected.
How many people know this?
Not enough. Then in the government shutdown, inspections stopped because there were no inspectors.
Right. They're all laid off.
They're all they're all furloughed, And so Swiss Post and most national posts over here said, we're not going to send packages over there. We have no idea what's going to happen with this stuff when it gets there. This is before Christmas. And so I have 20 fifes that are supposed to be Christmas presents for people.
Yeah, that was you.
That are built here in Switzerland, that normally I would just be able to, as I've been doing for forever and ever, just sending them in the post to America, no problem, declaration, blah, 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 it's all good. Now I have no way to send them to people, and I had to contact people and say, hey, I'm sorry, I really don't think you're going to get this for Christmas. I'm sorry, you ordered it in October, and so you'd have it for Christmas, but because of what's going on, I'm not going to be able to send it to you. Then I would get letters back. What do you mean, what's going on? Well, what's going on? And I then had to explain everything that I just said to you. Well, because of this, and this, the National Postal Service over here has said, no, we're not going to send commercial parcels to America because we don't want thousands of insurance claims against us, which is what would happen.
Ripple effects.
Yeah. And so nobody is exporting things to America. And if they are, they're prepaying the tariff. And the receiver on the other end is going to have that added on to their price. Like, before that, this guy DeLove, who was the Postmaster General, he comes from the private parcel industry. He's a UPS FedEx industry kind of guy. That's his background. That's why the emphasis started getting shifted towards using those kinds of services where things would be expedited through, instead of using European national postal services. There started to be these restrictions placed on parcels that were sent that way, as opposed to parcels that were sent through paid delivery services. And it's just gotten worse and worse and worse and worse since then.
And we're not going to be able to stop it unless we vote with our feet and stop participating in this economy and to get their attention, because the only thing they respond to is the dollars.
Yeah.
And the non-spending that's happening, hopefully today, get some attention, but it has to be more consistent and bigger scale, in my view. We have this, I don't know if you've heard about our No Kings protests we've had. What if those waving signs on the street? Lovely. Okay. You made it clear, but it doesn't do anything in the long run to affect anything. It's easy to ignore, particularly if you're a lame duck president. You're you don't have to listen to anybody.
Right. Not that he ever listened to begin with, Again, not to get too.
It's a little difficult for me to watch how things play out without seeing my own part in it.
Mm-hmm.
I play a role in this also. I've been an American for 63 years almost, coming up next Wednesday. And I've participated in this stuff and I've watched it go on and I've known a lot about what's going on as it's been happening, but I haven't stepped in to do anything about it. And I think just about all of us are in that mode where we don't feel that Patti Smith is correct when she says people have the power to redeem the work of fools.
Yeah.
I know I'm kind of foolish. I can fit right in Fastnacht celebrations because
I've made
foolery, right?
made a very successful career out of being a fool.
There's something to the wisdom of the fool that I think is in the Carnivalesque that I think we need to really get into. Wavy Gravy is one of my favorite characters in the world. Coming up on 90 years old this coming May, and he's still in the game, still pitching.
Yeah.
For us to wake up. And there are other people who are trying to wake us up. I mean, G.I. Gurdjieff, who died in 1949, was all about waking up to the fact that human beings quite often are very unconscious, very automatic. But every cent we spend, or what's centime? No, it's euros, so it's cent again. That we spend is a vote for the kind of world we are co-creating. We're spending our money and doing things with it in certain ways that do move things around, right? Move the commerce or stop the commerce in your case.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like horrific.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you talked about your situation because it might wake you people up.
Well, it was very ironic because one of my clients, a very nice fellow, I won't say his name, but he wrote to me and said, hey, no stress, no pressure, but, where the hell's my fife?
Right.
And so I sent him, pretty much I made a form letter at this point, and I sent it explaining all this stuff. And the guy wrote back to me and said, this was in the middle of the shutdown. And he said, I can't believe this. I work for the government, and I never put those things together in my head. How am I so stupid?
Nice guy. I'm glad he's got that insight.
It was like, sometimes and over here, there's an expression in Swiss German. Du musst jede Baum schütteln. You have to shake every tree.
Yeah. And explain more about shaking every tree. What are you going to get out of it?
Yeah. Something's going to bonk you on the head and you're going to wake up.
Okay. Yeah, maybe. A little Newtonian revelation there.
Yeah, exactly. They're very deep in their little sayings over here,
Nice compact structure too.
Yeah, very much. Very, very, very direct. But I'm over here, and I've always been, politically aware, or whatever you want to call it these days. Going back a very long time. My father was a combat veteran in the Second World War, and he saw, he was over here, 17 years old, in the 101st Airborne. Wow. But it was in Bastogne. He was through a lot of stuff. Just unbelievable stuff as a teenager, and after that he, taught our family, look, you gotta keep an eye on the people, running the show. You gotta think about who you give this power to, because if they have the power, they're going to do what they want unless they're afraid of you removing the power from them with your vote. You have to, it is
with our almighty dollar too, because the vote is one thing, but the dollar is even more powerful.
Oh yeah, again, China can shut the whole thing down if they sell all their treasury bonds. It's over. If they undervalue their treasury bonds and dump, $3 trillion of treasury bonds on the open market, good luck. The dollar, when I first came over here, was trading at about $2 to the Swiss franc. Right now, it's 70 cents to the Swiss franc.
Wow. You're still using the Swiss franc. You didn't go to the euro.
We're not in the European Union. Switzerland is not in the European Union.
Yeah, Switzerland is just its own thing.
Switzerland is its own deal, and that also is a problem for me sending things to America, because most of the people working in customs don't realize that Switzerland is not in the European Union. Switzerland is not an EU country. It's its own entity.
Now, did you get Swiss citizenship and marry your Swiss wife?
I've been a Swiss citizen for years now. I had to. I got fast-tracked. We got married, and then after 5 years, I was offered Swiss citizenship. I had to. It was very funny. I was told, or we were told, that in some point in this process, you may get a surprise inspection by the immigration police. Okay. Years and years go by, 4.5 years or so go by, and one night there's a knock on the door. I was just putting Abigail to bed. She was a baby, at this time, so it was like 10 years ago, and my wife came into the nursery, and she said, there are policemen here and they want to talk to you. And I'm like, yeah, that's fine. She said, no, there's policemen with guns at the door and they want to talk to you. And I was like, oh shit. And we had friends of ours over for dinner. And this was the surprise inspection.
Okay.
Like, 9 o'clock at night, they just showed up, hello, there's no problem. We want to make sure that you're actually married and you're a real family. This isn't a scam just to get Swiss passport. So we're gonna, they said to Karen, and so we want to interview your husband. So okay, fine. We all sat in the living room, and the policeman starts speaking to me in kind of broken German, and I said, Du, we can Schweizer du reden, diskutieren wenn du willst. So I said to him in Swiss German, not perfect Swiss German, but, hey, we can do this in Swiss German if you want to.
Yeah.
And the two cops kind of looked at each other like, an American who can speak Swiss German?
Yeah, that's kind of unusual.
Yeah. And so I said, well, just to make it easy, I said to him in Schweizerdeutsch that, listen, I've always thought, when I lived in America, if you live in America, you have to speak at least passable English. You're part of the society. So I'm living here, and so I'm trying to learn, not high German, not correct German. I'm trying to learn specifically your dialect.
Yep.
And they're like, oh, and that's huge brownie points. Wherever you live, if you can, speak the local language and especially a local dialect, that's just so appreciated, And so we did the whole interview in what I call Skippy Dooch is my joke, because there's 20. Just so your listeners know, there are 23 Swiss German dialects.
Wow. And
they are night and day different. If you're in Basel, which is right on the border with Germany, it's very close to High German. They would count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here in Aargau, where I live, which is 40 miles away from 45 miles from Basel, they say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the dialect changes that much. Mm-hmm. And when you go to Wallis or Zurich or some of these places, it's completely different. Not like going from Rhode Island to South Carolina, not where there's kind of an accent difference kind of thing, slow it down and make it wide and all like that. Completely different words, completely different rhythm, completely different pronunciation. So
yeah, we're losing that. Because of the internet, I think, to some extent, with English anyway, it's getting blended down. Where, when I was growing up, there's a little area near Williamsburg up on the York River called Guinea. Mm-hmm. And, I remember one guy was teaching school and he decided to teach it in Guinea in this particular dialect, which is very close to 17th century English, apparently. Mm-hmm. It's a pocket that's been isolated. Tangier Island, similar. in the Chesapeake Bay. I don't think many people are speaking that anymore. And of course, all the Native American languages. Oh my God, so many of those have been wiped out, lost. Of course, they used it for code talking in World War II to go back to the World War II.
Yeah, the Navajo code talkers.
And what it reminded me too is I was in Denmark, as you know, and we went to the Sprog School, which is the language school, to learn how to speak Copenhagen dialect.
Yeah.
And all the immigrants were to go there and learn it because you wanted to assimilate into the culture to the extent possible. I mean, the Danes aren't exactly the warmest and coziest people to anybody but the Danes.
Yeah.
Because they got very famous for hygge, right? That cozy thing. I don't know if you have anything like that in Switzerland too, a culture that's basically kind of hard to penetrate.
Oh yeah. All of these dialects came because Switzerland, depending on where you are, is very mountainous.
Cantons, right?
Yeah, yeah. And so a valley in Switzerland is called a Tal, T-A-L. Yeah. And so these places were very isolated, you know, going back, these places were very isolated, and they all kind of developed their own ways of speaking. And so some of these Tal are like the famous Swiss cheese, Emmental.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Emmen is the region, Tal, the valley from Emmen. That's where that comes from. So you see Tal a lot in Swiss German, and that's speaking about these various valleys where these cultures, you know, sprang up. So when you get into the Alps or the Berner Oberland or some of these into these very small closed cultures, that's exactly what it's like.
Yeah, I remember being in Sion, Switzerland, for a compact seminar when I was at the University of Augsburg. Some wealthy donor had given them a set of chalets along the valley looking over Sion. We had a house down at the bottom. Lovely place to have a seminar. I tell you what, cherry trees growing, the cherries were ripe. More cherries than I was right to eat, I think. Drink red wine and sing after class till the wee hours of the morning. And quite an experience. But there's the traveling through there. You could see how the landscape would basically isolate people.
Oh, very much.
These little pockets.
Yeah.
Right, all throughout the country. And lovely. A great memory.
And there are problems over here related to climate change, where there's a lot of these ancient villages that have been, you know, in the Alps for 1,000 years, with the Alps towering over them. There's been so much meltback that now enormous bus-sized boulders are starting to break loose, and they're actually evacuating some of these small villages. I mean, people can't live there anymore after your family has lived there for 600, 700 years.
That's amazing. And, you know, when we get all these technologies going, I hope that we can get to the point where we start to do carbon sequestration properly, because I think we've got the technologies to do these things, but we're distracted by the kind of noise generated by our political theater going and not solving these problems, right? I think that the technologies that exist, we need to apply them. We need to put pressure on our governments to do more than they're doing. And of course, we've tried to some extent. You ever seen the comic Mark Maron by any chance? Yeah, he says, you know, well, we brought our own bags. We tried.
Well, one thing here in Switzerland, I think it's with 15,000 votes or signatures, you can bring any referendum to the Swiss Congress. Anything that you want voted on comes up. We vote by mail constantly here, like every month. Sometimes a couple of times a month. We'll get an envelope in the mail, very thick, and it describes the referendums that are coming up.
And you've got the attention span to digest it, right?
Yeah. And it's all very well explained. Here it is, very neutral, up the middle. I mean, there are referendums all the time to get rid of the Swiss Army. There are fewer of those now than there were 5 years ago.
No,
you want
an army?
It's
We might need Switzerland. I don't know.
It's getting hairy over here. I mean, people are
Well, Greenland. We might want Switzerland.
Yeah, hey, good luck. But no, I mean,
we really don't.
when
banks though,
Ukraine is 1,200 miles. You can drive to Ukraine from here.
Sure.
In a couple of days.
Yeah.
And there are people here, like my wife's grandmother was a Sudetenland German.
So she's aware of what can happen.
She remembered very well her village. All the men getting herded up and executed. So there are still people here with those memories, or in their families. It's a generation away.
Right. And there's, of course, the memory of the Russians of what
they said. Oh, yeah. So all of that stuff that's happening over there is looked at very differently over here, because Americans forget the world wars were fought over here.
Yeah.
So I mean, in France, the farmers constantly still find unexploded munitions in their fields.
Of course.
Constantly. There are little places by the roads where they bring these unexploded munitions to, and demolition squads come through like once a month picking this stuff to get rid of it. So people have a very, very different feeling about things. Again, not trying to get too
well, this is interesting.
Things are looked at very differently over here than they are over there.
When you discuss unexploded munitions, I remember my childhood, of course, had in fact, right over in the corner here, I've got a board on which numerous relics of the wilderness are attached. Because there are unexploded munitions in the wilderness as well, even though the Battle of the Wilderness by any chance?
Yep.
In 1863. 100 years before my birth, but my father and grandfather, they go through the metal detectors and do little pot hunting, as they call it, which isn't really smiled upon by archaeologists by any stretch of the imagination. There's so many good stories about the wilderness. Actually, I could go off in that direction for a long time. But wars in general, we forget the amount of slaughter and how close we are relative to it.
Oh, yeah, very much so.
It's not that far. My father and I placed a stone at my Revolutionary War ancestors' gravesite. He was at the Battle of Yorktown. He was my great-great-great-great-grandfather. I've got a picture of my great-great-grandfather, his grandson, with my great-grandfather, my grandfather, my father.
How cool.
All together, right? My father's a babe in arms in 1933, and the man standing on the flank, the great-great-grandfather of mine, my father's great-grandfather, was then born in 1851. And the grandson of a Revolutionary War soldier. So, we're really close to this stuff, folks.
Yeah.
And the ripple effects that come down out of the choices we make based on what we see on the news, what we see on TikTok, what we see on Instagram. Instagram is a place to find your pubcast, right? Among other places. Okay. Down full circle again to the pubcast. And we can have these traditions of music, art, and literature that bond us together, while our politicians might want to fragment us. But we need to come together. We need to have those opportunities to talk. I was talking to Denise Perrant of Brown Eyed Women, and it's her other band. It's not coming back to me right now. But in any case, you get the idea. She's a Deadhead cover band woman and drummer and vocalist. And she said, the thing that happens there is you get on the dance floor and you've got that, 13-point lightning bolt in white and blue on the one side and red on the other. It brings us all together. We all come together on the dance floor, regardless of what our political alignment is. It can change the world, as Wavy Gravy told Graham Nash.
Oh, sure.
Graham Nash to write Chicago, right? Would you please come to Chicago just to sing? They were talking about the Chicago 7. Your brother bound and gagged, and they tied him to a chair. That's how it opens up. And it's because Wavy Gravy called Graham and said, "Hey, will you come to Chicago?" Because of the situation going on, and then Graham writes that. You don't challenge Graham to write a song. Apparently, he was challenged by someone that he couldn't write a song in like 10 minutes or something, and he was about to leave for the airport. He wrote, what's that one called? Just a song before I go.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
A lesson to be learned.
Yep. Yep.
I think that's really what's going to save our planet. And thank you, Skip, so much for all you're doing for this podcast, the Pubcast. Where can people find it again?
Right now, the main place would be to find it on my Facebook site. So come to look up Skip Healy, or you can go to YouTube and find the Empty Pockets podcast. Also, I'm up on Instagram. I'm working my way out into these other features, especially, as I say, now that I'm learning how to edit things myself. I had a professional guy before doing my editing for me, but that got...
That's the guy I met?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
What's his name again?
Stefan.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah, but he is very, very busy, and I have a lot of ideas, and I just thought, you know,
take it in the house.
When you can do it yourself, let me let me get into this and see what happens. So episode 2 of the podcast should come up hopefully this weekend. I'm looking to try to get it done for Saturday, but now I'm learning all about audio layering and putting graphics in on top. So we're trying to you know.
That's wonderful. And you're thinking outside the box, I see, back over your lathe.
There it is. Absolutely.
And I want to encourage people to think outside the bubble too. You know, reach out and talk to people who are in different lands, different perspectives. All of that is what a message I'd like to get out to my listeners. So we'll hit the stop recording button in a second here, and we can wrap up.
Okay.
Thank you so much for being on. Anything, any last attacks you want to get in there?
No, just be aware of what's going on. There's lots going on, and it's not hard to find out what it is. Talk to somebody, listen to shows like yours. I mean, you have so many different subjects and so many interesting people who know what they're talking about, as opposed to me, who just, you know, talks about meeting Jerry Garcia 500 years ago. You know,
talked about a lot more than that, though. The shipment of your fifes and flutes, you know, that's really important news to me.
Well, I'm a history guy, and there's the old saying, those who forget history are doomed to relive it. And we're on the verge of reliving some really, really terrible history right now. So people got to wake the fuck up, you know? One
thing I'd actually add on to that, you know, those who learn history are condemned to watch those who don't repeat it.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
But I am, you know, of that history angle. If it's printed, it's suspect. So always do your own research. You know, if something sparks in your memory here, anybody out there, you know, go and do your own research. Don't trust Skip. Don't trust me. Do your own research. Yeah, absolutely. There's more information available to everyone now than there ever has been before. So learn some stuff, figure some stuff out. I mean, and there's another Barlow
up there for, you know.
There's another Barlow who said as much, John Perry Barlow. He has a beautiful little TED talk about, you know, the right to know. Yeah. Because back in the day, again, tapping Mark Maron, the comic, he said, you know, you thought about this guy who did a lot of stuff with peanuts, but you couldn't remember the name. You just knew it was like 3 names. You had to call somebody to go to the library and look it up. Yeah. You don't have to do that now. You know, it's George Washington Carver. Yeah, exactly. That's what I tell my daughter Abigail. You know, when I was growing up, you had to walk up to the library, and you had to get these things called encyclopedia, and you had to look up, and you had to understand the Dewey Decimal System, and you had to go through card files and look and find things. Now you tap into your telephone, and you have, you know, unlimited information. Yeah, and sometimes it's correct and sometimes it's not. I mean, I've gotten using Grok a bit on their other AI abilities, but a lot of times it lies to me, particularly if I'll ask something about, you know, the music we know. It gives me something completely contrived that's absolutely untrue. So watch out for that. All right, I'm going to hit the stop record button, and thank you for joining us, and Skip hang. Thank you very much, Hal. It's great as always. Yeah, hang for a second.